Hello everyone. Let's get this candle lit and we'll get this party started. Okay. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. It is Friday. It's the end of the work week or the school week for many people. It's not the end of our week here, though. So let's come together. Let's find our meditation posture. You want to find yourself a position that you can sit in comfortably with balance. Right? The goal is to not strain. And that's important. So if you're sitting on a mat or a pillow on the floor with your legs crossed, this is good. Let your hands rest lightly on the top of your lap or on your knees, or even just hanging out right in front of your belly button. Find yourself in a way that you can sit in balance and find relaxation for your body. If you are in a chair like I am, see if you can get your feet to rest flat on the floor, or even crossing your ankles lightly in front of you. You want to pull forward away from the backrest if you can, and get your spine to lengthen and straighten out. Pulling the shoulder blades together very gently to open up the heart space and open up the breathing. You can also do this morning's practice lying Shavasana on your back with your arms gently at your side. Whatever it is you're doing, even if you're walking around listening through earbuds, or if you're driving a car on your way to work and you're listening to the audio of this morning's session, just see if you can find a moment of balance in your body where you can just be. If you are operating a car, obviously don't close your eyes and keep your focus on the road. But I find that meditative practices actually help me to be a more aware driver. And we can talk about that, the differences in the practices. But for now, we're just going to breathe. And today, as we're gathering in breath, being that it's Friday and we're nearing the end of the week for many of us, let's bring our attention and our focus to our out breath. Let's bring our focus on letting go. Today, when we're breathing out, we want to extend and lengthen the out breath. And just notice the way your body feels as you're letting go of anything you're holding on to. Now we'll move into a practice called Nadi Shodhana breathing. This is alternate nostril breath. And we're going to place our hands in Vishnu Mudra. Okay. So the right hand, thumb extended, first finger and middle finger folded down, third and fourth finger extended. I'm going to place our... alternately, you could, if you have a hard time or don't feel comfortable folding the first two fingers, you can also place these two fingers on the third eye and extend the thumb and the third and fourth fingers in the same way. And the practice here is to close off our right nostril with our right thumb and exhale completely from the left nostril, and then inhale through the left nostril. Open up the right nostril, close off the left nostril, and breathe out completely. Then breathe in. Switch out and in. I like to keep my fingers down, and I'm not sure why. Maybe it's because I don't want to impede my vision, but it doesn't matter. This is a valuable practice, no matter which hand position you're using. And begin. You may be experiencing that one side of your nostrils, your sinus passageways, is a little more difficult to breathe than the other. So this is very natural, and it's not just from having clogged sinuses. Our body naturally closes off one nostril just a bit and relies more upon the other and switches back and forth throughout our day. So this is natural. So what we want to do is not to go against that, but to utilize that. And we're going to time the exhale and inhale of the nostril that has impedance. Right? So let's say when I'm breathing out of my right nostril, it seems to be a bit more difficult than my left. I'll count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. And then I breathe in. I got a count of 5 on the inhale. So then when I switch, I try to keep the same. Between 5 and 6 seconds for exhale and inhale. We want to balance both sides. So while it may be easier to exhale all of your air quicker or inhale a big deep breath more quickly with the left nostril, calm that breath and match the right side. And we're going to do this for a few breaths back and forth. And begin. So be sure that you are engaging the diaphragm with this breathing practice. Sitting in an upright position is another way to assist the diaphragm in proper breathing technique. But what we want to do is, when we're breathing in, you'll feel the diaphragm, the muscle there, pulling downward. Okay, your options are going to be to let your stomach go forward, filling completely, filling the belly, which is a good practice, a nice big belly breath. But once we start to recognize that we're using our diaphragm, we can also shift the direction of the opening in our gut. And we can pull that diaphragm straight down our spine, right into our pelvic floor and our lower back region. Okay. This is going to create a feeling of slight pressure in the gut, but this gut pressure is really important. And so getting that stretch on the diaphragm in that direction is very useful as well. Do that for 3 or 4 breaths if you can. Good. You can continue with alternate nostril breathing if you'd like. I'm going to shift gears a touch with our breathing practice. We're going to move into Brahmari pranayama, or also called humming bee breath. Okay. So if you have on eyewear of any sort, glasses, something external, not contacts, it might be good to remove those if you can. Now, of course, with any breathing practice, this is completely your individual experience, right? Your breath, your body. Learn to be able to understand how you're feeling, and if you begin to feel strain or discomfort or dizziness or anything that doesn't feel quite right, please stop. It doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. It just means that that might not be the right practice for you in this moment. Okay? And those of us with breathing conditions or heart conditions, definitely you'll want to consult your physician before doing any strenuous breathing exercises. And that's really important because we're not here to punish ourselves or to force ourselves into some wildly uncomfortable or dangerous place. We're learning these practices as a way to find balance and to bring health and calm. And if the practice isn't bringing that, then by all means discontinue the practice. Okay. You can always try again later. Our bodies shift and change. Sometimes we're just not in the right space for this practice. So, and the same goes for any meditation or yoga asana. Be very wary of any yoga teacher who would pressure you to try to hold an asana that your body doesn't want to hold at that moment. And of course, we can talk about what it means to sit with discomfort, but that's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about sitting with discomfort. We're talking about creating pain. So don't do that, please. Take care of yourself, guys. Brahmari pranayama. So this is a practice of humming. It's called the humming bee breath for a reason. And what we're going to do is we're going to be closing off our eyes. Okay. We're going to be applying gentle pressure to a few points on the face, just below the lips, just above the lips, right above the sinus cavities right here, and a finger gently over our eyes. And with our thumbs, remove those. With our thumbs, we're going to place the thumbs gently over the flaps in your ears and apply gentle pressure, closing off outside sound. You can feel the difference in how the sound, the quality and the timbre of the sound changes inside of our heads. So what we'll do with this practice is we'll have a nice sustained inhale through the nose, and then upon the exhale, close our mouth and hum. And we'll hum through the length of the exhale, and you can do one of two things. You can close off the ears completely, or you can open and close the ears rhythmically. And this is really up to you. They're going to have slightly differing effects on your conscious thoughts, the way that your brain is cognitively functioning in this moment. But the goal that I'm working towards here is finding this level of calm, as well as inviting our bodies to have an increased blood flow. This practice helps to increase blood flow, decreasing blood pressure. And the way it does that is by boosting the nitric oxide levels that are naturally produced by the body in the sinus cavity, sometimes up to 1200% according to studies. That nitric oxide is going to help the blood vessels to open and close more freely. And the more they can open, right, the more blood is going to move and more oxygen is going to get around. So this is a really good, helpful practice. And we'll do this just for a couple minutes. So here we go. The alternate hand positioning for this is to just simply cover the face like this and just use the thumbs. So you can spread pinkies, third, fourth, this here, or just cover the face. I think I'm just going to cover my eyes today. I want the nice flow with my wrists, but here we go. Inhale. And hum. Okay. So just a few breaths is necessary with that practice. But sit now. And notice how the body feels. Let's bring this down. And spend 3 minutes or so in silent meditation. Just noticing the body. If you find a place of tension, bring your focus there. And release the hold that you're grasping onto. And breathe into the tension. And focusing on the out breath, we release. We'll invite the bell. And bring your awareness back. So what did you notice about your body or your mind? The landscape of your body, the landscape of your mind. And that sounds really flowery, right? Like, what does that mean, a landscape? But that means is if you were to be able to look into your mind and see thoughts as things, right? Sometimes it looks like, so many balloons or something just like popping up, right? They're all over the place. And the same thing happens with our bodies, right? Sometimes our body is a series of twitches and aches and pulls and bringing our attention and our focus all over the place. And it becomes hard to sit still because all of a sudden you get an itch or you need to adjust. You have to make a lot of little adjustments and modifications. So the body can be very busy, just as busy as the mind, right? And if we had a goal in this practice, the goal is to be still, still of mind and still of body, just even momentarily. Right? And stillness looks different for other people as well. Everyone has a different feeling of stillness. Some people find stillness of mind with gentle rocking. The swaying motion can bring stillness of mind. Some people like a movement. This is one reason that a mala, the beads that I took off this morning before this practice, but the mala that we roll the beads, we talked about this last week. That can be a good practice for people who find calm in slight movement. But what we're trying to achieve is and I stray away from talking about goals and achievements with meditation. We know this because I'm always saying that this is not a goal-oriented practice necessarily, but here I'm going to contradict that for a moment, and that's okay. What we're looking towards when we sit in these sessions, these meditation sessions, is creating a moment of calm where there is no push or pull in any direction. And that's sometimes what our thoughts can do as well. Our thoughts can pull us towards different realities, different beliefs. And the thing about thoughts is they really do, they're kind of like the monsters from Monsters, Inc., right? They are effective when they can generate your emotional response. Right? When they can't do that, then they're not as effective. They just move on. So if we can, for the generation that grew up uh, with movies and TV, like me, uh, we can think of our thoughts like the monsters in Monsters, Inc. Now, in the beginning of the story, of course, the monsters are scary, right? But then as we get to be intimate with the monsters, we form a relationship. We understand that they're not. They're just performing the job that they need to perform to get the stimulus that they require. And that shifts and changes the relationship and the dynamic. When I can think of my thoughts not as the monsters in the closet who are coming to get me, or to scare me, or to keep me scared, but I can start recognizing that they are simply things, thoughts are things that are happening, attempting to sway our emotional response. And it's like a fishing expedition. They're just doing what they can do to get your attention. So can you have a thought but not have your attention focused there? Absolutely. Absolutely. And this is the practice. The practice is to be able to have thoughts pop up, notice them if you need to, but not give your focus to them. And your focus comes in the form of belief or emotional reaction. Because a lot of times, what's happening are these thoughts are playing into our trigger response based upon our sense memory. And this is done as a sort of a shortcut for your body to expend the least amount of energy necessary to get right to where it needs to go. So it's just sort of shortcut to thinking. And oftentimes when our thoughts that are coming into our heads that are ones that are less than preferred, we'll say, it's our mind trying to assist our body in figuring out where a certain level of tension is coming from. And so it's trying to deal with what you've experienced. But the difficult problem there is that we get stuck in an emotional reaction to a thought. And it tends to be, oh, I don't want that. The thought is something scary, like the monsters in the beginning of Monsters, Inc., right? Jumps through the closet and it's scary. There's this terrifying beast. There's this thing. Right? And so then we start reacting. We have an emotional response where we are moved into fear or anxiety. Then our body starts responding accordingly. Our blood pressure goes up. Right? Our hands begin to clench a little bit. We get a little sweaty. Body temperature starts to rise. We become on edge, irritable. And when that happens, our adrenaline starts to kick in just a little bit. So now we've gone from a simple thought to an emotional reaction to a physical response. Okay? And this can happen not only with things that are terrifying, but it can motivate us in ways of things that we find preferable as well. You know, someone who you are in love with dearly walks in the room. Not even just a romantic partner, but just any person that when you see them, you are triggered into love. Right? You see them, your thoughts gear towards feelings of joy, happiness. Your emotional response is to lighten your mood gets better, you're feeling safe, you're feeling vulnerable in a way that's good, right? Your body gets the signal and the posture goes up, the eyes lift and open wider. You're taking in more of this person. Right? Your senses are elevated. Similarly to if you were facing danger, your senses are all elevated. But this time, your senses are elevated in a way that you're bringing in these waves of good feeling. And you just feel good when that person's there. This is a very similar response, right? And it's not that either one of them are inherently good or bad. If we punish ourselves when we feel a response of fear, and we try to train ourselves away from having a response like that, then when there really is a moment of danger, that could be less than beneficial. Right? It's about being able to recognize and understand in the moment where your centeredness is in all of this, so that you can experience the thought without having the investment that takes you away from who you are, right? But allows you to fully experience what's in front of you. And I know this is maybe starting to get confusing because I'm feeling confused as well. But if we are overtaken by thoughts or overtaken by feelings in our body, then we put all of our focus on those things and we lose ourselves in the present moment of where we are. And there is a time and a place to experience these things. And this is not avoidance that we're talking about. This is just recognition of what is being pointed to. So we're learning now to not focus on the leaves, but go to the root. And this is where the work comes in. Right? And if you, to continue the analogy, remember what happens in Monsters, Inc. The monster busts through the closet door to scare the person, the little kid, the little girl inside the room, and she laughs at him. Right? Completely disarming the monster. You know? And the joyful bubbliness that she's bringing into that situation changes the dynamic of the entire experience. So here's this monster in my head closet coming out, telling me terrifying things about myself, telling me that I'm in danger when I'm not, telling me that I'm worthless when I'm not. And the ability to recognize that thought for what it is, it's a thought. Just a thought. I can give myself the space and the centeredness to understand where that thought's coming from. And this is where awareness becomes really handy, because when we are unaware of where these thoughts are coming from, then we're going to live in a way that assumes that this is natural and this is just a part of who I am. Right? When I think these terrible things about myself or about other people, that's just me. I'm just broken and I'm just a terrible person. And I'm gonna live in fear for the rest of my life, and that's just the way it is. Right? Because we have no idea why I'm being sabotaged by my own mind. So of course I must be broken. But this practice takes us to a place to understand that these thoughts have homes. These thoughts have places they come from. There's events that have occurred in our lives that create the very specific little nudge that this little nook that these thoughts live in inside of our bodies, inside of our minds, inside of our experience. And being able to not be pushed off our center and into a place of guardedness and defensiveness and fear every time we have one of these thoughts can allow us to sit with it. And then we could even reach our hand out, take that thought by the hand and follow it home. Where is this coming from? Because this becomes then the relationship with the self, to understand that this is a thought, this is not me, right? I'm not broken, and I'm not sabotaging myself. I'm just unaware of where this thought comes from. And when I can go to where it's from, I can make an offering. And oftentimes that offering looks like forgiveness. Forgiveness of someone who harmed you, forgiveness of yourself for putting yourself in a dangerous situation. Maybe some of your harm is self-harm. And that's a hard thing to forgive. When you know that you've caused yourself harm and that's hurt people you love, that can be a difficult place to come back from. But you can. You can. So this practice of beginning with our meditation posture is finding balance. And balance doesn't mean I'm going to give myself an equal amount of good feelings for all of my bad feelings, right? We're not balancing scales of our lives. Balance means I'm going to find a way that I can stand to hold whatever is there with the least amount of effort. The least amount of effort. So I can just be. So we begin by seeking balance in our posture. And in doing this, we're opening our body's flowing. We're going to places of tension in our bodies because our bodies are the place where we might hold on to the signpost, for what it is that's creating this discomfort or this dis-ease. And we can go to that place and we can offer the nurturing and healing and relaxation and letting go that's necessary. And as we begin to harness these skills and hone this practice, we begin to notice there is a ever disappearing boundary between the body and the mind. What we thought were two different things, we begin to recognize this is existence. This is what it is to be in this body, is to be in this mind. So then we can apply the same techniques, the very same skills that we're focusing on. A thought comes in. It's the same thing as a twitch or an itch or an ache. We go to it and we let it go. And maybe we have to sit with it for a while or massage it out, just like if you had a knot in your muscles, right? But that's okay. Instead of avoiding these very uncomfortable, sometimes painful thoughts, we now can approach them without danger, right? And we can sit with them. And sometimes it's just for a moment, and we have to go, okay, that's enough for me right now. I'll come back to that. But that's familiarity. That's putting your toe in the water time and again is still forming that relationship. And eventually you'll be able to be there. You will. You'll be able to sit with those thoughts without being in danger from them. And I don't know if it's going to make any of us better people, right? But I know that as I get better at feeling my feelings, I tend to externalize them less, right? Less and less in my days am I finding that I'm triggered by somebody else, because they're not the trigger. Right? My triggers are mine. They're mine. And so as I'm feeling myself better, as I'm learning how to be better at feeling the uncomfortable thoughts, feeling the overwhelmingly beautiful thoughts, the joyful thoughts, the manic thoughts of puppy love, whatever it is, as I get better at feeling those thoughts, sitting with those thoughts and not being overtaken by them, then I do find that I feel better. Because I've gotten better at feeling. I'm becoming more literate of my emotional landscape. So that's why the breath. That's why the body. That's why the mind. And it's a funny irony, because one of the mantras that we often use here at Journey Home, and we often use it in the world of yoga, period, is I am not the body. I am not the mind. I am not the body. I am not the mind. Right? It's a negation mantra. It's a very strange thing to spend focusing on what you're not. But it's a reaffirmation that while the body has these experiences, the mind has these experiences, I am experiencing the body and the mind. Right? I'm just experiencing the body and the mind. And that changes it. I'm no longer subject to the body and the mind. No, I'm just a rider, a passenger, experiencing all of these experiences so I can take notes along the way. And when I find myself particularly experiencing something time and again that may be a bit difficult, right? Then I can recognize, oh, this again. Okay, let's deal with it. Let's sit with it. Let's make the deal. You know, let's sit down at the table with whatever this experience is and go, hey, I don't need to be here again. You don't need to be here again. How do we come to live together in peace? You know, maybe you're a person who easily falls in love, and you are moving from person to person because you are in love with falling in love. And it's those moments of feeling this excitement and joy and unconditional kind of feelings that you have for one another, right? But then when those feelings start to shift or change, right, then you're gone. Because maybe you found another person or another hobby or another thing that you're just in love with. You're just falling in love. And that's your experience. It's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, what's bad about falling in love, right? What's bad about that? But it's an attachment. And it's a re-experience time and again of a place you wish you were, right? So then you do end up causing yourself pain and suffering. You're suffering this search for love. So you don't fall in love. You're diving in love. You're jumping in love. You're running in love. moving in love. But what if you were to fall into it? What would that look like? So maybe for you, the experience that you keep experiencing time and again is one that you need to make friends with. Maybe. And allow yourself to fall into love. The next thing you know, you'll have that feeling of total acceptance all the time. Or at least some of the time, more of the time. But you'll have that feeling even when it's just you in the room. And that sounds like pie in the sky promises, but why not? Why not? Give it a shot. Who knows? And totally open to being wrong about that. But for me, it's worth a shot. For me, it's worth a shot to sit with myself because that's the person I'm going to be with the longest. Get to know myself, fall in love with myself. And through that, I can fall in love with the world. Okay. So that's my thoughts for this morning. My practice of seeking balance and focusing on letting go. The focusing on the out breath is focusing on the letting go. And I let go of my grasp on what I want to be. And I fall into love with what is. I'm going to put my hands together in the recognized position of gratitude and prayer. And I'm grateful for the monsters in my closet because they keep showing up. They're consistent. And the more they do, and the more I can sit with them, the more I see how loving they really are. So I'm grateful. And my prayer today is, may each of us find release. So that we can truly be here now. Okay. So the music we listened to today during our breathing exercises was a royalty-free Om chanting brought to us by Relax On Music. It's a copyright-free provider of music for calm and meditations, and we're really grateful to them for doing that service. Thanks for joining me on the journey home. You can find all of our links for all of our different social media outlets on our Facebook page, Journey Home Meditation. That includes Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. And soon, and Patreon, right. And soon it will include our own website presence where we'll be able to host these videos, and I'm developing a format for workshops. So we'll be able to have extensive weekend-long workshops and gatherings. So check that all out. The Patreon page is not being utilized too much yet. I haven't put too much content on as I'm sort of in that limbo space waiting for the website. Once the website's done, then it'll be easier to bring the two together. But yeah, I talked a little bit yesterday about some of the plans, bringing meditation practices into elder care facilities, memory care facilities, prisons and criminal justice institutions, as they would prefer to be called, I think, and schools for children. So these are the lofty goals for the next year with Journey Home Meditation, and I just really appreciate you guys being a part of this daily practice. We did not use the chat feature today too much to communicate with one another, but maybe we can just give a few moments in the chat. If you want to put into the chat, let's see what's a good prompt for today. Why don't we just each put into the chat what our prayer for the world for today is? So here we go. There we go. So if you're using this platform on Facebook, I think even on Twitch, you can use the comment section, and I believe so as well on YouTube. So Trice is going to be a good person in the world. Yes. That's what we're here to do. But while we're doing this practice, as we say goodbye, say thanks, everyone. I just want to say thanks. This means a lot to me to be able to sit here and share this practice. And I look forward to integrating new platforms so that we can be a little bit more conversational beyond just the chat. But we'll get there. We'll get there. Tomorrow is Sutra Saturday. So we will be going over the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. It's always a good time. I really enjoy the practice of study as well. I may move Saturdays to 8 a.m. As the summer comes on, because we'll be getting up earlier and trying to get some gardening and things taken care of. But for now, we'll stick with 7:30. Okay, everyone. That's all from me today. Thank you so much, and we'll see you tomorrow morning. Hari Om Tat.